Okay. Macbeth, Act 5, Scene 5. And it's one of the most sort of philosophical and tragic of Shakespeare's tragedies, where Macbeth is faced with the reality of his actions. He is kind of come to understand the kind of forces that are moving against him, and he kind of deals with this with a sense of rage and sort of philosophical kind of outlook that is becoming of a man of his intelligence, but also a man of his impetuousness. Okay, so the court of the castle, Macbeth enters Seaton and soldiers. Seaton is covered as man-at-arms, and so he's got some soldiers left who, remember, no longer serve him out of love, but of lesser hate. They just are kind of, the last remaining soldiers that he had. Hang out the banners on the outward walls. The cry is still, they come. Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Okay, we got that lovely kind of laugh a siege to scorn, as if his castle is a living thing. But if we know it may be living kind of, it's living in a sense that it's the last remnants of his power. And what's going to happen is there'll be a siege, and we get this sort of anthropomorphism, that laugh a siege to scorn. Here, let them lie till famine and ague eat them up. Now, what's interesting here, Macbeth kind of reverses the role of a siege, that almost like he is besieging them. And we get this sort of reversal because normally in a siege, this is what happens to the people who are besieged. Famine and ague, that disease, eat them up. So in a way, it's that sort of idea of equivocation again, that really what you see is not a proper siege. I'm besieging them. And it also gives rise to this idea that he kind of feels completely and sort of, invulnerable. He cannot be attacked. All right. And then, were they not forced with those of be ours? We might have met them direful beard to beard and beat them backward home. And then we get the cry of women within. What is that noise? It is the cry of women, my good lord. And then he exits. So Seaton doesn't tell him. He leaves. And then Macbeth says, I've almost forgot the taste of fears. And here we kind of get an insight into him, because again, it's kind of him speaking his mind, not quite a soliloquy, but in to the audience. I've almost forgot the taste of fear. He is a man who understands what fear is. He's a man who has fears. The time has been my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, which is a bird. So in a way, he's a bit of a nervous disposition. And my fell of her would be a dismal treatise, rouse and stir. In a way, he's kind of that when he would have heard that shriek in the night of the kind of the night shriek bird, his hair would stand on end. And he realizes here, I have almost forgot the taste of fears. That he feels invulnerable now, that nothing's going to get him, nothing's going to harm him. As if life were ended. I have supped full with horrors. And this is probably the key quote in this particular here. I have supped full with horrors. Darkness familiar to my slaughterous thoughts cannot once start me. So in a way, he is unafraid of what he's done. He's at ease with that. And wherefore was that cry? The queen, my lord, is dead. And that's such a tragic line. Okay. She should have died here after the siege, after everything was done, when they defeated the English. That's his thinking. Okay. After he defeats the English. And we get two types of Macbeth here. There's the almost arrogant kind of person who won't accept the situation. He is in control, all right? He still is applying his own agency, when really he's not. And so he kind of dithers between, he sort of vacillates between absolute confidence in his ability and the deeply insecure nature of what he's putting his faith in. He's putting his faith in the prophecy of three witches. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. What's interesting here, he seems to sum up the whole situation in a very clear and philosophical way. And he uses imagery here, which is very telling. And we got this idea tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and we got that repetition. And that repetition of the kind of, how we say, of the dullness, that the time moves on in repetitive fashion. It's dull, it's uninteresting. That is how his life has become, a repetition of the same things. And we get this idea of repetition. All right. Creeps in this petty pace from day to day. And we get that idea of creeping. It seems unnatural. It seems kind of furtive. Till the last syllable of recorded time, it will still go on. Nothing changes. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. And all our yesterdays. It's hard to know what he's talking about, but I suspect it's really humanity, himself and Lady Macbeth. The way to dusty death. And we got that beautiful kind of, alliteration there. Out brief candle. And then one of the most philosophical things that he says, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And here we get the sense that the death of Lady Macbeth, it just brings home the kind of pointlessness of his whole actions. The pointlessness of it all.